Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Hope I meet you well. Yesterday we started with the House, the Ninth National Assembly race, spent some time on the leadership, although we concentrate on the Senate President. Of course, there are other, as was pointed out yesterday, other important posts that need to be filled. Okay, today we thought we'd look at the other side of it, the House of Representatives, especially as Femi Gbajabiamila, who is the leader and in the outgoing Senate, outgoing House of Representatives, representing Surulere constituency 2, he threw his hat in the ring. I mean, this has been known for weeks, but formally is another thing. He has formally announced and indeed stated why he wants to be Speaker and why he knows he is eminently qualified to be Speaker. So we'll look at that, and we'll also look at if it's an unchallenged position or if there are other people who have thrown in their hat as well. Ademola Adegoke, communications expert, is my guest this morning. A fine morning to you, Mr. Adegoke.
Good morning, Yori, and good morning, viewers at home.
Indeed. Well, we have to go through this. It's business. It's continuing the business of the country, quite frankly. Now, Gbajabiamila, this is the very position he contested for, as he stated in his own address. He contested for this in 2015. As he put it, it wasn't to be. But now, here he is. First of all, just looking at the man Gbajabiamila, he's handled, I imagine, what is your opinion? He seems to have been something of a gentleman in politics, and in spite of no histrionics, very little public emotionalism, just looking at the man himself.
If you ask me to appraise him, and then his qualification for the position is 6th now, I think he's eminently qualified. I will say that he's qualified for that position. And when you look at him, when you know,
but as you know, qualification is one thing. Political qualification is another.
Maybe I should expatiate more on that, because you talk of when you want to hire a man for a job, you look at the experience he has behind him for that job. You also look at the skills you understand that he has garnered over time, may want to put him in good stead for the job. So as far as I'm concerned, when you look at a man that has, this is his 6th time.
5th.
Is it 5th or 6th? Fifth time.
He's done 4 terms already.
4 terms already. So I doubt if there will be older members. When I say older,
I understand.
In terms of
better ranking.
The better ranking, I doubt if there will be. And perhaps if you will just have like 1 or 2 that may want to equal his record of stay in the national in the House of Rep. So as for his being fit for the job, for me, I do not have cause to doubt that.
Which was the situation in 2015 as well, but that went the way it did. He lost out to the outgoing Speaker because, I don't know, the mechanism of the party, his party, the ruling party, was, if you want, hijacked. But this time, like once bitten, twice shy, as we have seen in the House of Representatives, where it looks like the ruling party has got a lot more involved, a lot more interested in the outcome. I think the same can be said about the House of Reps as well. Although the APC, I was reading in the paper, says that this week it's going to meet to decide on the zoning formula and all of that, but these things have already been known. I suppose we're just going to now put the working on the table, as it were, to sort of justify the answer that we already have. We know that Gbajabiamila is the only candidate that
is the favorite of the party.
Yeah. In fact, I don't think there's an option B.
Well,
there always will be. Let's face it, in politics, there will be options.
The party does not have has not picked an option.
No.
To the best of our own knowledge. The party has not picked anyone as an option to Gbajabiamila. But, from what one has been reading, there is this man from
Yes.
Niger. You understand? There is this man from Niger that seems to be in hot contention with Femi Gbajabiamila. But I think that this time around, the party wants to put its feet down to say wants to put its foot down to say that this is the direction we are going, as far as the National Assembly leadership is concerned. I think this time around the party wants to get it right.
Yeah, the party does, but I imagine there are a few bumps here and there that will have to be negotiated depending on the quality of the shock observers. It might not show at all. I'm talking about here the whole matter of now there's a voice on the political horizon saying, wait a minute, don't go House of Reps, don't go for the Muslim ticket, meaning if we have a Muslim in the House, in the Senate, and then a Muslim, then a Muslim, that is if Gbajabiamila continues, then a Muslim in the House of Representatives. I mean, we come up with these things. Those things are, well, on one level they're important, on another level they're distractions. What do you think it is in this case?
For me, they're at best, a big distraction. Those are maybe extraneous issues that should not come into play when we are talking of, leadership of a very important arm of government like the legislature. And
but what you're therefore saying is that it is competence that should come to the fore.
Yeah, it is. And again, one needs to say this. One needs to say this, that it's unfortunate, how deeper we are sinking into divisive, tendencies like religion and, tribalism, in public offices. It's unfortunate. And I say this maybe with a sense of nostalgia for the Asian days of our politics. And what do I mean? 1979-83, Joseph Wyas was the Senate president. Edwin Ezeoke was, the Speaker of the House of Reps.
Christians.
Both Christians. And in fact, almost, from the same side of the country. Nobody raised an eyebrow. And if that is too far-fetched, let's even in the current dispensation, I think 2011, was it 2007? 2007, that was I think the third assembly, the third assembly, the third National Assembly. Ete was the Speaker. David Mark was the Senate President. So what is anybody saying?
Well, the only thing people can say is that, well, there's been a lot of water under the bridge since then.
Yes.
Then.
And that is why one is saying that it's unfortunate how deeper and deeper we are sinking into these divisive issues.
You don't think it's an equity point that, look, I know it might be burdensome sometimes, but at least we have these structures where everybody feels included?
For me, because the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Reps are just two of the positions in the National Assembly. You will still have the Deputy Speaker, and you will also have the Deputy Senate President. And again, you have the House Leader, you will have the Senate Leader, you will have the House Whip, the Majority Whip, you will have the Minority Whip, and all those other positions. And then again, you're still going to have chairmen of different committees, both in the House and in the Senate. So I don't think that we should narrow. We should just fix our gaze at, these two positions. Before you can talk of inclusiveness, it's only when, these other positions have been shared that you can now start talking about, inclusiveness or lack of it. So
of course, they would have made much of that. The outgoing Senate President, Dr. Saraki, has said that, following from what he did, senators should decide their own leaders. You know, and I'm reading on the front page of the Punch this morning that he's been advised by APC that members of the minority party should mind their own business and should find a way of occupying positions that belong to them. In other words, you must just maintain your lane. Can you please just maintain your lane and don't just be crossing lanes?
Yeah. You see, for me here, when you talk, I think there are two, maybe we should start by, laying a kind of conceptual foundation for this kind of discussion about where, senators should choose their own leaders and the other one saying, no, mind your business. And the conceptual foundation to be laid for it, as far as I'm concerned, is that there are two seemingly conflictual concepts here. On the one hand, you have the concept of party supremacy. And on the other hand, you have that concept, another concept of legislative autonomy. The party supremacy will tell you that House members elected on the same party platform should exhibit some uniformity of action, some oneness of purpose, in their treatment of legislative issues. That is party supremacy on one side. Then legislative autonomy will tell you that no, the parliament should be sovereign, should be independent of external manipulation, and that it should conduct its own affairs with little or no interference from external body. So these are the two contending issues. And then so the question will now be, how do we strike a balance between these two?
As you said, if you're all from one party, you will know what your party stands for.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm taking that for granted, that if you're a member of this party, you know what your party stands for. There is no independent candidature. So you are, I imagine, assumed to be aligned with your party's direction and vision. But to now be a one-man, in fact, it's very interesting the way Senate President Saraki was, the way he was perceived by his own party. At the time, when he was a member of APC, he was thought not to be the quintessential APC kind of person that you want, because he didn't mind, going round about, evading, how things should be done. I remember the anecdotal story. It wasn't even an anecdote. He said he slept overnight in the National Assembly. Now, all of this was to, better his own base. Now, not really commenting on Senate President Saraki, but trying to make the point that if you're a member of a party, all of you speaking Yoruba are supposed to have your heads facing one direction. Therefore, it's a matter of they're not zombies, but we don't expect you to be looking to be scoring an own goal, which sometimes happened in this particular situation.
Yeah, that is why one has said
not expected to be scoring an own goal.
That is why one has said that you see, we need to find a way. Like I've outlined
between showing independence of thought and also being a good party member.
Man. So
but
there has to be
on the premise of the party.
You arrive at the premise of the party, but you see, the presidential system of government that we practice promotes individualism much more than parliamentary system of government does. So, but you as a party man, you should know how to strike the balance. You see, there is this, the presidential system of government, talking and merging that with the concept of parliamentary autonomy, is looking at a situation that the parliament will not become a rubber stamp.
Yes,
you understand? Will not become so pliable, you understand, to the whims and caprices of the executive. But then, too, you came into office on the platform of the party. And one expects that, your party should have, should have some influence on the way things go in the assembly, because it's about, total governance. It's about total governance. You are not operating, because at the end of the day, if the party fails, everybody fails together. So it's not just about you as a person, it's about total governance, like I've said. So you've got to strike a balance. And I think that was what was lacking in the 8th Assembly. Yes, you want to maintain,
the independence of the legislature.
The independence of the legislature. But then there are matters that one will expect that, the party should have influence on, because the party must have a direction, a policy direction. The party has something that it's driving. Take the issue of corruption, for example, and then as it has to do with the clearing of the man at the head of EFCC, Magu. That's, if APC had any mantra, before 2015 election, it was anti-corruption. That was the mantra of the party. And one will expect that any party man, any good, party man, should key into that. Whatever that is going to impede,
without sacrificing anything of the independence of...
because that has not taken away the independence of...
It hasn't done it. It's a policy of your party. For example, I like the example you're making. But in the outgoing National Assembly, Senate in particular, you had a situation where you would... In fact, we said at a certain time that APC didn't really need any opposition. It had it already.
APC was its own
own opposition.
It was its
own. Now that is the unusual part. You don't have to rubber stamp. You don't have to
rubber stamp. You don't have to be subservient. You don't have to be unduly subservient to the
But principles
executive.
are principles.
Yeah.
You're a member of this party. This party has this star policy. You can't be seen to be against that star policy.
That is and that is what one is talking about, striking a balance.
And that's I don't know, it's not our business because Bajabia Miller has people to campaign for him in this particular era. But as you said, having spent what?
Maybe
16 years? Four terms?
4 terms.
Four terms?
And 20th now.
And he's moving, and as he has said, he spent all of that time. A large part of that has been as a leader in the House, and so he says that he's eminently qualified, and I suppose, you can't contest that. And especially as he has the ear, shall we say, or the nod of his party.
Of the party.
All that now remains is the internal, how tight the House is to make sure that indeed they go the way as expected. That I think is going to be the big deal. But at least if we get it right, by we I mean the country this time, if the country gets it right, and they have in the National Assembly people that are not strangers to them, but you understand what I mean, then at least we know that you're part of the team. The National Assembly is part of the team, but the National Assembly is going to be watching out for procedures, conventions, fairness, whatever, representing the constituency. Bajabia Mela, for instance, Surulere constituency too. Representing fully his constituency and wanting to hear from them how they see things. I don't know what you think about this. How does a senator or a representative, how does he conduct himself? He's an individual on the one hand, but he's also representing so many from either his senatorial constituency or his federal constituency.
Yeah, and
does he need feedback from them? Does he need, this is your disposition, this is your leaning? Can his constituents change him or her if they had a certain notion, but you now go back to your constituents, you look at it, and do you think that's the way it works in Nigeria?
That is the way it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to work.
But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You see...
so these people become a one-man...
Yeah. And that is, you discover that the consequence of that is that you have a high turnover rate in the National Assembly because... Like
somebody remember that there were 5 under Obasanjo Senate presidents.
Yeah, of course.
Yesterday.
Of course. You talk of Ewerem, you talk of Wabara, you talk of Kenamani, or Kadigo,
Yeah.
before you get to, okay, I think, Pius Hayim. So 5 of them. So and it is because you are not, because you are not, you should know that you are not representing yourself. But what happens is that immediately our people get to the house, they forget that the constituents put them there under the platform of the party. So you have two interests, to serve. The party interest and the interest of your constituents. And in many, more often than not, we see that neither of the two interests are served.
Yeah, I tell you what, I got to take a break now, and we'll continue from here. Whose interests are senators and representatives supposed to? How do they negotiate this particular aspect that we're talking about? Stay with us, please. We'll be right back, and we'll introduce our other guest, Ahmed Dada Abbas. Okay, welcome back. And joining Mr. Demola Adekoke, communications specialist, is a lawyer, Mr. Ahmed Dada Abbas. He's also a political affairs analyst. Thank you very much, Mr. Abbas, for coming on, as always.
Thank you, sir.
Indeed. Now, you know what we're talking about. Here we are, 2019, and it's pretty much the juncture we had in 2015, both in the Senate and also in the House of Representatives. Now Gbajabiamila Miller has thrown his hat in the ring. He's not the only one. There are quite a number of people. This time, when we were off air, Demola used a word, cohesion. Party cohesion was the one thing that was missing the last time. Do you think it's better now, that situation?
I think APC has actually learned from the mistake they made in 2015 when the president was trying to be democratic and aloof in who becomes, who emerges as the Senate leader and the House of Rep leader. You must be interested in who leads the National Assembly because you want a cohesive party that will be able to drive the agenda of the party. And I think now, even if you interrogate the chairman of APC, he's really in the forefront, trying to ensure that APC, as a party in majority, has a leadership in the National Assembly that is in line and on the same page with the party on most policy issues. And for Gbajabiamila, that the party is, I'm sure, solidly behind.
We don't know. Technically, we don't know. Because it is this week that
we've been hearing.
We don't know anything.
We don't know. But
we don't even know who the party wants yet.
Yes. The body language of the party seems to favor.
Because they say APC is going to meet this week to decide on the zoning formula.
But the honest with even in 2015, the party was propping Gbajabiamila. And for me, I would say he's one of the, with all sense of humility, one of the most brilliant member of the House of Rep that we've had in the past few years. Very brilliant, very focused, progressive-minded. And for me, I think if he emerges as the Speaker of the House, I anticipate that we'll have a very robust House of Rep towing the line of the party and ensuring that the party's program is actually effected.
But it is not expected, is it, that just because, and let's just cast our mind a little into the future now, and if everything went according to the way of the ruling party, and so they have who they want in the House of Reps, they have who they want in the Senate, therefore APC at the federal level or at the executive level would have no problem whatsoever. That's not what we're saying.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, whoever emerges as the leader of the Senate and the House of Rep must be conscious of history, because history will place you properly where you actually belong. It is not a rubber stamp house or leadership that Nigerians are looking for.
That's right.
They are looking for a leadership that will have the interests of the people at heart. Because, in fact, they lay the foundation for whatever be the policy that any government is going to drive. They make the laws.
That's right.
Laws. If, for example, they discover that the level of literacy is too low or the level of illiteracy is too high in the society, they can, of their own, initiate institutions to help us fast-track the level of literacy. Once the National Assembly said there shall be established a University of Science and Technology to be situated in Ogbomoso, that's the law.
That's the law.
It becomes the duty of the executive to source for the money to establish it. So, for me, I think they should bend to listen to what are the problems of Nigerians. Because laws are supposed to be tools for social engineering.
Yeah.
You look at the society. What does the society want? You listen to the problems of the people. What are the people saying? We have unemployment. We are coming out of an election that really, there's so much to be desired in our electoral system. They should sit down and look at it. How do we restructure our electoral system in such a way that it throws out the best, brings up the best, and also the faults, the challenges we had, the killing, the manual, the analog approach, and all the rest of them. These are things that the House should be looking at. We are not looking for a House that will simply toe the line of the executive. Yes, when the executive is towing the line of a pro-people policy and programs, yes, you give them a standing ovation, you stand by them. But if they are also towing a line that is against the interests of the people, because you are the representative of the people, the true representative of the people are in the assembly. You are closer to the people.
And that's the point that I don't think is grasped firmly enough by most of us.
They are closer.
That you are actually, you're the closest representative.
To the people.
I might have voted for the president, I might have voted for the governor, but my closest representative, quite frankly,
if I want to see the president today,
you're going to have problems.
It's going to be easy for me to see God than to
you're going to have problems.
To see the president, because they will just look at me and say, where are you coming from? To see the president, who?
However,
it's easier for me to see God than to see the president. Now, but for you to see the House of Assembly member, or rep, and senator, it's just probably going, though in Nigerian context, it's not as easy as that, but ordinarily, in practice.
Because once the guy gets hold of that title.
In practice, that is what he's supposed to be.
Of course.
It's supposed to be like. So they are closer to the people. So what they need to do, this ninth assembly should simply look at what are the problems that surfaced prior to the establishment, inauguration of the ninth assembly, and sit down to make laws that will address those problems. Electoral issue, the issue of education, the issue of unemployment, so many other problems. They should just sit down and ensure that they give Nigerians what they are. Because if you take opinion of Nigerians and towards the 8th assembly, there's so much that was left to be desired.
Indeed, and the cohesiveness that the party needs is one of the things that maybe because Badabia Amelia is the only guy who the papers have carried his address. No doubt other contenders also have their own quote-unquote manifestos. But he has said that this is one of the things that he's going to work upon if his colleagues will indeed put him in office. That just the cohesiveness of the House, that he would take that very, very, very seriously, which is not the same as rubber stamping. But you don't want a situation where even within the APC, for instance, the dissent, when it happens from time to time, is allowed to, go to a ridiculous extent, and before we know where we are, we start having factions and camps and that kind of a thing. I suppose adroit leadership could help in that regard, right?
Yes. You see, like he has said, what Nigerians are looking for, we are not actually, a rubber stamp house will not be in the interest of the people. But then, too, if a rubber stamp house will not be in the interest of the people, a belligerent house, too, is not going to be in the interest of the people.
You're right.
So, and what we had in the 8th assembly, was more of a belligerent.
Well, we just were confused. See, whose side are these guys on?
Although maybe the 8th assembly had, a predecessor, in terms of hostility or belligerence to the executive, because you will recall that under Gali Huma Gali Naba. I mean, there was no love lost, between the House of Rep and the executive. And so, but when you have that kind of situation, what you will have is that, maybe we can, we take recourse to the cliche, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers.
But
at the end of the day,
the elephants, and I think this point both you gentlemen are making, the elephants shouldn't even be fighting.
That's what we are saying.
Because when you're in the National Assembly, when you're in the at the sitting, at the president's desk, you are the president of all. I imagine there's a sense in which the National Assembly, as you've said, they are direct representatives. So they are primarily, or maybe they should be, nationalists first. Nigeria should be first. They should be
Nigerians first. They should
Even this Bajabia Milagon, Nigeria should be first, and then Surulere Federal Constituency 2 is also very, very much in view. Very, very much in view. But within the context of Nigeria, the arguments will be made.
You see, I think, like you have said, a much more adroit leadership in the House. And that is what we need, you understand, that knows how to strike a balance, between wanting to uphold the autonomy of the House and also service to the people.
Indeed.
Service to the people. Yes, you want to uphold the autonomy of the House, but service to the people is paramount. And anything that will impede service to the people, should not be entertained.
Well, I suppose at the end of the day, a lot will also be looking on recent history, to see what the relationship has been. But it does, if things go this way, I'm just guessing myself, Lawan over there in the Senate, Bajabia Miller here as one possible team. It's not the only team, but just looking at that, it would suggest to most people that, this could work, because these are, quote unquote, good party members. By the word good, you know what I mean, that these guys play according to the rules, which doesn't mean that we will just rubber stamp everything, but at least you know the way they're thinking. You're not going to, you made the point earlier that APC, if it stood for anything, if it stands for anything, it's anti-corruption. Yeah, the opposition will have the say into that. Well, we understand that. But they stand for, anti-corruption. And now we had people in this outgoing assembly actually stymieing processes that would pursue this particular thing. Now, you don't expect that. You don't. If you can't, because if APC says it's anti-corruption is one of its main pillars, then I imagine if you can't abide by that, if you don't like that, then you have to reconsider why you're a member of the APC.
You have no business being in the party,
because you can't be in the party and be fighting that policy. You have to probably understand why you're in the party in the first place. Good morning, Mr. George. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in. Good morning.
Good morning to the House.
Yeah.
Uncle Yori, some people just cannot be helped. I had the Senate President, Saraki, talking yesterday, promoting rebellion among the senators elect, just like he did in 2015. One would have thought that with the humiliation he was shown, he will show remorse and be a different person, but that is not to be. America is the country we are copying in the system we are running, Uncle Yori. In the Congress, the party that is in majority is the leader of the party. They nominate all the committee chairmen in the House. So what should it be different from here? I heard you talk about religion.
Yes.
The Senate President should be one religion, the Speaker would be another religion. What has religion got to do with lawmaking? That's one thing I respect El-Rufai for. He picked his deputy. He is a Muslim. His deputy is a Muslim. Some people were saying you can't win because of Muslim tickets. He jettisoned there, and didn't he win? What has governance got to do with religion? I don't know. Somebody should please tell me. Does the religion improve your way of seeing things in governance? And if you say one religion is, are you not saying that one religion is better than the other?
Okay.
I think, let's talk about the real issues.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Maybe I'll give, let me give Ahmed a chance to comment on that point, because we made it before you came on. A voice, well, not so much a voice, but the thought in there that maybe a Muslim National Assembly leadership might not be the best. But as Mr. George has said there, what's that got to do with anything?
I think I belong to the school of thought that holds dearly that, look, leadership, quality leadership can come from any religion, quality leadership. And the typical example...
And it's not even a religious matter.
It's not a religious matter. After all, like I used to say, Dubai is purely an Islamic nation that turned a desert nation.
Yes,
so with
yes,
all
yes,
our religiosity and spirituality,
Yeah.
in the past, how many decades of the amount of wealth, but progressive leadership, people-focused leadership, nationalistic leadership, turned a desert nation to a country where 40 to 50 million people are clamoring and begging to visit every nation. So for me, that clearly debunks the whole idea of leadership can come from any religion, quality leadership. It depends on the values that the leader of that nation has actually imbibed and internalized over the years. That is, for me, I am not a subscriber to any form of religious this. Most times when you enter what I ask leaders is, when you get to the airport, how many times have you ever gone to the cockpit to ask whether the pilot is actually a Muslim or a Christian before you fly?
Yes.
Or how many times have you actually gone to Oxford University or Cambridge, where you send your children to ask them whether the teachers there are Muslim or Christian? How many times have you gone to the hospital to ask whether the gynecologist that will treat your wife is actually a Muslim or a Christian? So, I mean, for me, I don't subscribe to that idea, because leadership can emerge, quality leadership can emerge from any of the religions.
Okay. Cosmos in Kaduna, good morning, sir. Cosmos.
Yeah.
Good morning. Go ahead, please. We're waiting for you.
Okay, good morning, Uncle Yari.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead, please. We're waiting for you.
Okay, Uncle Yari, good morning, and good morning to our guests.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to make a little contribution, those of your program.
Please go ahead.
I'm a top-time caller.
Oh, we're delighted to have you, Cosmos. Please go ahead quickly now.
I think what I wanted to tell Uncle Yari is that I hope the Constitution for the National Assembly made it clear that they should elect a leader among themselves. Not the... Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
I mean, the Constitution made it clear that they themselves should elect a leader within themselves, not the party chairman imposing somebody on them.
Yep. Cosmos, that's the point. Thank you. Thank you for calling in. It's an important point, because indeed, the National Assembly, it is even written down. It's not a matter of somebody coming up with the idea. They will elect from amongst themselves. But I don't know if Cosmos now includes in that notion the idea that they shall not consult with any external body at all. I don't know if, because look, even when you want whatever the office, you can't be a law unto yourself, right?
No, you can't be.
If I'm vying for an office, I have to come and tell you about it. I have to come and tell you about it. I mean, you can't say only people in my family alone should know. So Cosmos wasn't quite clear. But he's no doubt referring to, as I say, the Saraki call to rebellion. The Saraki call to rebellion that, look, decide amongst yourselves.
What he should realize is that there are so many unwritten rules of democratic practice, culture. There are so many of them that are not written. And one of them is that, look, any party that produces majority of the members automatically fills in most of the major positions in the House. You cannot. Politics is about conflict and contention. If you decide to deliberately appoint a member of the opposition, you are simply saying, sabotage my regime for these next 4 years.
Yeah.
Because they want their party to win the next election. So what they simply do is cripple you, make you redundant, make you incompetent, so that by the next election, the society is aware that we gave you 4-year term and you weren't able to impact our life positively. And in the next election, the people would vote for the next party. That's why no sensible party will allow the opposition to be in charge of the National Assembly, considering the fact that you are going to introduce so many bills. You are bringing so many bills to impact the society. So what the opposition simply do, if they are in charge of the leadership of the House, is simply to cripple those laws, put them underneath, and render you useless. So make you very unpopular.
Exactly. Let me quickly take it to John in Abuja. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in.
First time caller.
Oh, again, delighted to have you, John.
Yes, I've been trying for a while now. A quick one on the issue.
Yes.
Just like the caller from the Kaduna Cosmos earlier said, I think I will sharply disagree with him. For any party to survive with these policies and programs, it is important that the party take interest in who the leadership positions in the House, so as to allow their programs and policies to stay through. Otherwise, everything, just like one of your Dada said, will be crippled, and it will look as if they are not doing anything. So it is important for us to know that when we are talking about politicking does not really end at the point of voting. It ends at the point of policy implementation. Because that is the deliverable that the people outside there need, and not the rhetoric that they make. That is my point.
What do you make of Senate President Saraki encouraging senators to decide their own leaders?
The truth of the matter is that a rebellion is always a rebellion, so I don't even want to comment about him.
Thank you very much.
That is his own opinion.
Okay.
The people, the senators elect and the House members elect have taken their decision, so he can say whatever he wishes to say.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for calling in. Actually, they haven't taken the decision, technically speaking, but I think I understand what you mean.
One needs to add to what has already been said about this call to rebellion in quotes. That, you see, for me, it all appears to me like shifting the goalpost in the middle of the game. We've been into this political dispensation since 1999, and let's go back. In 1999 to 2003, PDP was in the majority. They produced both the Speaker and the Senate President. 2003 to 2007, the same thing. So till 2015. So when they were in power, when PDP was in power, would they have listened to this, talk of, the senators or, National Assembly members producing their own, electing their own members? No. So for me, it's like wanting to play the dog in the manger now. You understand? That since we cannot have it, let's cause confusion in their camp because we cannot have it. But I don't think that is the right way to go, because PDP that is promoting, or Saraki that is promoting this tendency, this rebellious tendency now, should realize that tomorrow it may be their turn. Probably PDP, we don't know whether in 2023 PDP will be in the majority. And we then listen. If someone now comes and says that, members should elect their own leaders, they should not listen to anybody. I don't think there is anywhere in the world where the party, through which members were elected, will not show interest in what its members do on its behalf. Because whatever the legislators do, they do on behalf of the party, on which platform they came into office.
And the party itself, ostensibly, is acting on the part of the people of Nigeria and the well-being of every Nigerian. Yakub, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, it's very good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling. Good morning.
Then good morning to Mr. Abbas and the other gentleman.
Mr. Adegoke.
Good morning.
Mr. Adegoke, thank you very much. It is only this country. You will see somebody use a vehicle to get to his or her destination. And then when he gets to that destination, he will prepare to remove all the four tires. And then telling you that the motor is not good again. He needs to stay on his own. Forgetting that in the next maybe 1 hour or 30 minutes coming, he will likely to use that the same vehicle back to his where he's coming from. You know, the illustration is this. These are senator and House of Reps. They will use the political party to get whatever they like. And then once they get to the National Assembly, somebody like Saraki will not telling them they need to vote for whoever they like within themselves. And then forgetting that you use that very distinct platform to become a Senate elect, to become House of Representatives. And then some people are not telling us that the party is supposed to allow them to elect whoever they like. Where is it done in the world? A party that goes throughout this country from one state to another, campaign to Nigerian people, tell Nigerian people what they have for Nigerian people. And then you are not telling me that same party have no say in becoming who becoming what in the National Assembly. As I said yesterday, I give it to Adano Sheomele because they start early. So that before they get to the starting point, they will know who is who. They will know who is to settle. They will know who to talk to. Because come 2023, Nigeria will ask the same political party a question. In 2019, in 2015, you promised us so thing. This is 2023. What did you do? And then you are not telling me they should allow anybody to become Senate. That is where we suffer in this last election and in this last government. We suffer a lot because the Senate President and House of Representatives Speaker Dogara, they were not the same line with the President Muhammadu Buhari because he spent a lot of bills. So then, in order to help Nigerian citizens, what they did, they just sitting all those bills. And then, here we are today. Everybody are not blaming President Muhammadu Buhari because it's a go-slow man. Where is it go-slow? If you get the right people at the Senate and the National Assembly, I can tell you, President Muhammadu Buhari will move as here, and then will move like a plane, and then every Nigeria will benefit for that. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Yakub. I think Yakub alluded to it, but it certainly was spoken about earlier. The role of the leadership in APC, the APC chairman, somehow his ascension seems to be, there are many people who are saying that, you know, although there are people who rule the fact that Oshiomhole is there, including in APC itself.
Yeah, of course. Okorocha just spoke yesterday.
Exactly. But I don't know, what do you think, you know, Ahmed, that his coming has definitely altered the way APC can operate and is operating?
I'm not subscribing to everything that Adams Oshiomhole has actually done. I'm not saying he's perfect. But I think his foray into the chairmanship of APC has actually done a lot of good to APC. Because for the first time, they brought in these direct primaries where you don't need any godfather to emerge as a distant. You go to your locality. Your popularity at the grassroots is what determines your emergence. Because in the time past, all you need is just 1, 2, 3 godfathers, give them money, and they just bring you up and say you are the candidate of the party. And for those like in Ogun State and Imo State, it shows that if a governor, an outgoing governor, is not popular, he cannot just impose, a godson on the society and on the state and things like that. I think their wings has been clipped. One way or the other, one man, one vote is what is now prevailing in APC. He has done a lot of good, and I think if the culture continues, it will lead. I mean, to get to a situation where people, you don't necessarily need to have money, so you go back to the grassroots, work very well, and emerge through the process. That's my own take on Oshiomhole's chairmanship.
Okay, Mr. Adisa in Minna, Niger State. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you, sir. I just want to contribute to your program, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Please, I just want to say something. I'm praying to God that we should not have somebody like Bukola Saraki in the midst of power again in this country. He's a distraction to this country, honestly speaking. PDP was in power for 16 years. Did they allow any opposition to take any big elective position in the National Assembly? It's not done anywhere. Now you are advising people. God will spare our lives. Come 2023, somebody like Saraki will not be existing in this country again.
Wait now. Olapa won't take away. I mean, Saraki will continue to exist according to the will of God.
Probably he meant in our political space.
Maybe in the whole political space.
What he's trying to say is that his influence would have diminished completely.
Okay, with this clarification.
That's what he's trying to say.
But I had to clarify.
What he's saying is that the likes of Saraki are going into political oblivion.
That they will not be in our political sphere.
Yes.
The problem.
Yes. In our political
yes,
sphere.
that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
That's maybe.
Okay, but it's all about these distractions, meddling, mischief. That is what they're talking about. Taking that out so that we can get down to business.
You know, sir, can I say this with all sense of humility? I think, people that have the privilege of occupying very sensitive position in the society should know that Nigerians are very intelligent, extremely very intelligent, that sometimes they make the mistake of assuming that people on the other side are dummies and they do not know. And one of the greatest danger, like Mahatma Gandhi said in his 7 deadly social sins, is when you have politicians who practice politics without principle. The last caller just said it. Sir, there are some unwritten culture that if you call yourself a Democrat, there are some principles you must just abide with. When your party says this is the person that we actually want to occupy this position, if you are a team player and you are a party member, you can't be bigger than your party.
You can't.
You can't be bigger than your party. Even in our electoral system, the vehicle with which you get to the National Assembly belongs to the party. It's not an individual. We are not running independent candidacy. You run on the platform of the party. And you can't use the party's vehicle to get to a position and you now turn back against the party and say, to hell with whatever the party is saying. It simply shows you are a politician without principle. And sooner than later, you always pay an expensive price for playing politics without principle.
Okay, well, but Bukola Saraki, the current Senate president, I don't know if the man is, he's an individual. I mean, we've never seen anything like it before. Come out in this way, single-handedly take on your entire party and then struggle along as long as it takes. But YS in Amuadu, good morning, sir.
Hello.
Prince YS.
Yes.
Good morning.
I'm speaking from Amuadu.
We know, Prince YS. Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. May God bless all of you in the studio.
Thank you.
And you too, sir.
Yeah. Number one, Saraki, he can say whatever I want to say. But we knew him. Somebody told us some time ago that this man betrayed his father. You are not yet. But 2015, this man betrayed his party that sponsored him to become senator. And look at the end. The end for him is what? Now, Osemala was saying, you are going to lead the Senate as a federal president. He said no. But what happened in Kuala today is the worst for Saraki. I tell you, what he said yesterday, that the senators will rebel against their party, those senators will not listen to him. Because a betrayer, their end is not so good. And if anybody tries to throw Saraki line,
Prince YS, we've run out of time. But we get the full gist of what you're saying. You don't put very much stock on what the Senate president, his advice, namely that senators should decide their own leaders, no doubt meaning independently. But we've heard commentary on that. Thank you very much, YS, and all the other callers for calling in. And we've run out of time, so I want to thank you, gentlemen, as well, for sharing your perspectives on helping us understand what the issues really are. Mr. Ademola Adegoke, communication specialist, and Mr. Ahmed Dada Abbas, lawyer and political affairs analyst. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
That's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folani. Bye-bye for now.
On the subject